Close to 50 million people in the United States have tried online dating. In South Africa, the figure is sure to be a lot less, but it's simply impossible to know. This special investigation looks at the seemingly innocent world of online dating. But do you even know whom you're chatting to online? South African women are being scammed out of thousands, tens of thousands, and yes, even millions of rands by people they've never even met. Syndicates are hard at work in this country, and their businesses are booming.
I was lonely. I wanted some companionship. I wanted someone to talk to, someone to call my own.
I'm doing it for more than a year. I've never met anybody. It's a nice chatting session, and they all just wants to fall in love.
Women got caught in online dating scams because they are looking for love in the wrong places.
We continued talking, first on the site, then he asked to go on WhatsApp.
Die man het my 'n friend request gestuur. Ek het dit aanvaar en op Facebook en ons het naderhand op WhatsApp gesels.
Divorced, lonely, and an introvert. Caroline decided her Mr. Right may just be a click away. People meet online all the time. Twitter, Facebook, Tinder, Snapchat. The list is endless. Everyone chats online. What could go wrong? Take us back to the beginning. How and why did you get involved in online dating?
I know that my sister had met her fiancé on this specific site where I met this guy. So I trusted the site, got onto it, talked to one or two men, left it there, and this one particular one just didn't want to let go. So we continued talking, first on the site, then he asked to go on WhatsApp. So we exchanged numbers, we talked on WhatsApp, and immediately when we started talking on WhatsApp, he would call me baby, or babes, or love, or something like that. So when I asked him, but you can't call me all that names, I don't know you, you don't know me, how in the world can you just suddenly be falling in love with someone that you don't know, you haven't met or whatsoever? So I was skeptic, but this guy, he was clever as hell.
The one in Kuruman needed money. He was in hospital. He got robbed and he had the hospital bill to pay. And he asked for money to pay his hospital bill and also for some airtime. The other one, then I had one in Pietersburg. He had his daughter. She needed money for privacy toiletries. And she also needed some money for airtime while he went back to Dublin for their business.
At first there was nothing with money whatsoever. He was a widow, he was an engineer, got his own company, worked in Cape Town.
Most of them are engineers. They're working on a rig in Mossel Bay. One I had was from Kuruman, working on a mine.
A very common scam is the person says they've sent you a package or parcel which has been intercepted and seized by customs. Unsurprisingly, a fee must be paid to release it to you. Of course, the package doesn't exist. Another scam, the person says they've arrived in South Africa with a lot of cash, but have been arrested.
Just sweet talking me and telling me how nice I am and how nice I sound and all these lovely things. He got a contract in Rome, so he's on his way to Rome. He will notify me as soon as he's got there and so on. So when he got there, he sent me a picture of a check, and the check was made into my name. Then he said to me he bought a engagement ring, and he bought a watch and other jewelry and stuff and perfume and so on, and he's sending this to me now.
He came to South Africa with the amount of money of $155,000 in his suitcase. So they said to me, he's got a problem. He's in custody and he's in customs. Then they came back to me and said I must pay 32,000 rand for bail to get him out of custody so that they can release the money.
I've been scammed before for 4,000 rand out of my pocket that I had to borrow at that stage because I didn't have any money. I don't want your stuff. If you want to give me anything, you can come to South Africa then and you can bring it for me. Then it's fine, then I'll accept it. Otherwise, I don't want anything. No, but he already sent it.
The syndicates have perfected emotional manipulation, so people who can't afford it find the money.
This one guy called me. The package is here at our Tambo, but unfortunately the customs had searched the package and they found money in the package. And now they are holding me responsible for that money.
I was looking all over to find the 32,000 rand. But all my friends said no to me. Even the police at airport said to me, it's a scam. I didn't believe them. I said to them, no, this guy is for real.
So I went and borrowed some money. I took out a loan because I didn't have the money. I borrowed, I think it was 53,000 rand. Of that 53,000 rand, he had received nearly 40,000 rand.
You've transferred a fairly large amount of money to 3 different men you've never met. Your friends and family would say you've been rather foolish, but how do you actually feel?
You don't think about this guy can actually be lying to you. This guy is not who he is. He's impersonating someone else, and you don't think about that. Because you need to remember that guy is so freaking clever. He manipulates his way into your life, into your heart, into your trust, into every personal space that you are allowing him to go into.
As daar iemand met trane in hulle oë vir jou vra, asseblief, help. Ek gaan dit vir jou teruggee. Ek's 'n sagte mens. Ek hou daarvan om ander mense te help. Dit is vir my baie lekker. Maar ek dink ek het 'n duur les geleer.
Desperately disappointed in myself. I cannot afford 32,000 rand. But because he promised me a high salary of 50,000 rand per month, I was prepared to pay it so that I can get the money back. And he promised to pay the money back.
The victims of these scams are predominantly white, middle-aged, and Afrikaans. What's your message to all the women out there currently involved in online dating?
Who are you going to blame afterwards if it went sour? That guy. You blame yourself. Because I blame myself. I'm currently in a situation, I either pay my rent and pay the loan and pay the vehicle, or I pay the other debt and I don't have a place to stay. So what am I doing now? Who am I blaming? That guy. He's long gone and he doesn't care.
Hierdie mense wat so scam is baie slim en uitgeslape. Asseblief, maak seker en as daar geld te sprake kom, hardloop. Los, moenie gaan nie.
Look out, because I've been there. We do not believe it because we are lonely. We are gullible. They found us easily. And because we are lonely, we believe easily.
That doesn't matter what happened, doesn't matter what your friends say, doesn't matter who everybody else around you is saying. He's always right.
Online dating scams are certainly nothing new in South Africa, and it's evident that tens of thousands of women have fallen victim to these scams. The police have taken a lot of flack over the years for their inability to be able to crack these syndicates, but the Hawks have recently had a breakthrough. Police have been largely unsuccessful at dealing with theft under false pretenses, but a crack team of investigators within the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigations, known to the public as the Hawks, are convinced they're starting to turn the tide. Colonel, just how rampant are these online dating scams in South Africa?
The scam is very rampant, judging by the number of people who are coming forward who have been scammed. We had one victim who has been scammed of 5 million rand. One victim. We are sitting with women losing 500,000, and that's a lot of money. These people, they come with various excuses to pursue their victim to start transferring money. In one instance, they will say, I've got a tender in Namibia. Now in my site, there's been an accident. My money is locked up. I need 500,000 to continue. Then because we are so much in love, you transfer the money.
Tell us about some of the Hawks' recent successes in arresting about 11 people allegedly involved in these online dating scams.
Yeah, and the 11 that we've arrested, they'll be going through their court processes at the Pretoria North Magistrate Court. And we will do everything in our best to ensure that we have a conviction, because we believe we've got enough evidence against them.
With the police at a station level seen as unable to deal with these types of crimes, many turn to private investigators as a last resort. The Hawks' recent breakthrough, though, did not go unnoticed.
I'm happy to report that the police have actually escalated these cases or prioritized them, and the DPCI, what the general public know as the Hawks, have been tasked or have created task units within the Hawks in order to investigate online dating scams.
Is the team or unit investigating these sort of crimes within the Hawks a brand new unit? And if so, does it show just how bad the situation has gotten?
Seeing more and more cases being opened on this online dating, we had to have a team late 2014, early 2015 to start looking at these things. That's where that team deals with this thing on a daily basis, and we are arresting people. But what we have found out so far is that cases are coming from across the country, but the same syndicate, because we find victims talking the same language, talking to the same people, but different profiles.
We actually have a regulatory authority, it's ICASA. They're supposed to regulate and monitor our online usage. It doesn't seem like this is actually happening. If you look at the piece of legislation that falls under the ambit of ICASA, they're not actually enforcing it. It's been 10 years since the Act was promulgated. And the Act speaks of cyber inspectors. We actually don't have cyber inspectors. None of what was legislated has come to fore.
5 million, 3.2 million, 500,000 is too much to be scammed. That's why our victims, some of them, they can't come forward. They feel too much ashamed. Or how can I lose 500,000 to somebody I don't even know I even met?
In this age of technology, just how difficult is it to find, track, and arrest these perpetrators?
Extremely difficult, because these people, one person has 5-6 cell phones, and none of them is recorded. You can't trace them on the IP address of the computer they're using. because they are sitting at a postnet. Then they are doing their thing there. You trace that IP address is postnet. How do you go there and start saying who was sitting this computer for how long, how many days? So it's extremely difficult because even the bank accounts is open today, tomorrow is closed.
Syndicates have managed to infiltrate the banks, whether it's through extortion or through a payment for services rendered by the bank staff. This is how they've managed to infiltrate banks and utilize the banks to either open or close bank accounts.
They use the cell phone 2-3 times, then it's done. They're using another one. So it's very difficult. But as the Hawks, we are coming with new ways to trace them, because we can't sit down and say they are untraceable. Somewhere, somehow, they will leave a loophole.
It's easy for these guys to operate within the country, and we found that it's easy for them to open bank accounts in South Africa as well, so they're able to transact freely. South Africa has some incredible pieces of legislation, like RICA, that is supposed to regulate your communications in South Africa, specifically your cell phones. And then we have another piece of legislation as well. It's called the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act. It's an incredible piece of legislation, and it goes towards combating cybercrime. The enforcement of those particular legislation seems to be lax.
There are thousands, if not tens of thousands of women, predominantly white, middle-aged, reasonably wealthy, that fall victim to these sort of scams. What's your message to these women as the Hawks?
Most victims are white females, aged. I think the one who was had the lowest age was 54 and above, and their profile, they appear to be reasonably wealthy. Our message will be that we can't say they must stop online dating, but they must stop transferring money and other products before they can actually meet the person, because they are of the view that they are talking to their Prince Charming in Australia or in Canada, and that person is somebody sitting behind a computer in Gugulethu, in Somerset West, in Cape Town.
I've spoken to a lot of victims who say they'll go and try to open a case at their local police station, but that the police at a station level are not recognizing this as syndicate crime. They're saying that the woman willingly handed over the money, that it's a civil matter that needs to be handled by an attorney. Do we need greater education of our police officers at a station level?
We will say yes, the police are not very much aware of this syndicate. From all that we have received, we found that the same modus operandi, the same people, same numbers, same bank accounts. We believe that with us having this capacity to investigate, they can only transfer the cases to us, then we will assist in investigating them. But as for training, they need training.
We can point fingers at Nigerian, Ghanaian syndicates, but ultimately there's a South African who's legitimizing these scamsters. They're opening up the bank accounts, that's withdrawing the money with their South African IDs. What's the level of local involvement in these syndicates?
There are South Africans involved. That's the truth. We can point fingers to Nigerians, yes, as the mastermind. But for their deal to go through, they need South Africans. So when we investigate thoroughly. If there's a local assisting that's a scam, we arrest. Hence, those ladies are still arrested even today.
The Hawks have just informed us that 11 of the suspects that they've arrested over the last few months in connection with these online dating scams are going to be appearing in the Pretoria North Magistrates Court, some of them making their first court appearance. Now we're going to try and get our cameras into court to show the victims of these scams the faces of the men they've actually been talking to for months. After more than a year of investigation, 11 suspects were finally arrested in connection with online dating scams. 5 laptops and 12 cell phones were seized during the operations. The laptops contained the profiles of hundreds of different people used to scam victims. While 3 South African women and 2 Nigerian men appeared in court in person, A further 6 Nigerian suspects appeared via video link directly from prison. I interviewed the victims connected to these very alleged suspects in 2015. They'd lost almost everything: their pensions, their houses, and some even their jobs. While the victims won't get their money back, it provides some closure knowing that justice is being served.
We are happy as the Hawks that now that we've made this arrest and have made it public, the police who've been sitting with dockets, not knowing what to do with them, they are not coming forward. So at least now, all those investigators who were investigating these online dating cases, they now know that they transfer their dockets to us.
Author of the book The Last Word, Alta Jacobs, has retold the true-life horror story of a South African pastor's wife and her experience with online dating scams. The woman became a target of the syndicates, eventually requiring the intervention of America's Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI.
One day when she was emotionally low, she and her husband had a fight again, and he broke her off, and he abused her emotionally. So then comes this message, and she just responded to the hi on Facebook, because it all started on Facebook. So she was caught up in this, and she thought, okay, well, let's try it. And then this guy started bribing her and asking for money, and he started to tell her how bad person she is because she doesn't want to pay off. They start bribing her and even threatened to kill her son, and even tried to kill her. So there were many threats on her life as well. So it is terrible when once you get involved in that syndicates. It's a dangerous place, and you cannot go there if you are not equipped, and if you are not alert. You cannot go there. It's a no-go zone.
Sometimes the victims are wealthy, other times they're not. Those who do not have the money bury themselves in debt trying to keep their imagined partner happy.
When these women doesn't have any money, they start loaning some money. I worked with a woman who loaned 300,000 rand from the bank, and she had to pay it off now. She bought computers and cell phones and all that expensive stuff, because these syndicates are very specific in their need. They tell you, I want the latest cell phone, an S7, or I want this computer or that. And these women just buy it.
The South African Banking Risk Information Centre, created by South Africa's Big Four banks, is tasked with assisting companies to combat organised bank-related crimes. The South African Banking Risk Information Centre, SABIC, recently launched a fraud awareness campaign to warn South African women especially about the dangers of online dating.
Certainly we have seen more and more South African women start to become victims of this. To go onto a dating site, there's nothing wrong with it. You know, there are some authentic dating sites. And unfortunately, these criminals, they know that people who go onto those sites looking to find a friend, they're lonely, they want a companion, they're in an emotional state, and they know exactly how to play on that.
One syndicate member could be chatting online to hundreds of women at the same time. It's literally a full-time job. 1 out of every 100 women may respond to a Facebook message or email. But if they invest enough time in emotionally grooming a victim, the financial rewards can be huge.
It's syndicated, it's highly organized. They would, in some instances, sit in a room, have a few computers available. They work a shift because they're working 24/7, and depending on time zones in different places that they're communicating with. It's their ability to manipulate people using emotions to try and get them to do exactly what they want. It's an opportunity for them to use social engineering again to solicit enough information from a person once they've obtained their trust, once they get the people to believe that they're in this wonderful relationship that has great prospects and hope. And unfortunately, the poor person at the end of the day doesn't realize that, for one, they may not even be communicating with the same person.
While some syndicates will adopt the so-called shotgun approach, firing off as many emails and Facebook messages as they can, some people are being specifically targeted. Your status updates and photos are being carefully watched.
They would go around trolling social media platforms to look for information on people, and that's one of the things we've been saying. And this is not a bank crime, but our banks are concerned about the fact that so many of their clients are becoming victims to this. Don't share more than you need to share on social media platforms. But even more importantly is when you're on those platforms, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or whatever site it's on that you're using to communicate and to chat to people who are supposed to be people you know and your friends, you should always make sure, it's an absolute not negotiable, that you should always make sure that the privacy settings on those platforms that you register on is set at the highest level.
This is a worldwide problem. Online dating scams, known in the UK as romance scams, have seen 200,000 people falling victim to the syndicates. Back home, the Cyber Crimes and Cybersecurity Bill, published on the 28th of August 2015, is yet to be passed into law. Many would argue, though, that all the laws in the world can't stop someone from simply giving their money away.